What's up, guys? My hair looks a bit messy right now, so I decided to put on this firefighter hat that I found. I think it looks alright. We're going into the fire this week. What was that Teddy Atlas speech? The fire is coming. We are firemen. The heat doesn't bother us. We live in the heat. We train in the heat. Flames don't intimidate us. We control the flames and then we extinguish them. Alright, so welcome to this week's Best Bets episode for UFC Perth, Carlos Prates versus Della Maddalena, where I'll be discussing the most confident picks, the lock of the week, the underdog of the week, and some parlays that I like. Starting off with the most confident picks, we got Jonathan Mikhailov and Cam Rouston and Brando Perichix. Starting off with Jonathan Mikhailov, I think he's coming off of an impressive victory over Oban Elliott, where he really made a statement. He's well-rounded, he's a sharp striker, and he's dangerous everywhere, and he's a rising prospect. Whereas Gorimbo, he's a tough fighter, he's grappling focused, but he's hittable, and his performances are inconsistent, And Mikhailov, he has looked elite, I would say, in his recent fights. He has clean, powerful striking, and he has the ability to mix in the grappling and submissions really smoothly in his game. He's beaten solid competition, especially in his last fight, and continues to improve. Gorimbo, he's a likable guy and he's gritty, but he struggled against stronger opponents. As he starts moving up the competition, he starts struggling, and he's getting dropped and he's getting outworked in recent fights. His main path is closing the distance and controlling the fight, but Mikhailov has shown he can handle grappling coming his way, and he stays dangerous in all areas of the fight. So overall, Mikhailov, he's looked like the more skilled, more complete, and hungrier fighter, whereas Jonathan and yeah, basically, I just think he's better everywhere. He should be able to control the fight and potentially finish this fight as well. So moving on to Cam Rouston versus Robert Brycek. Cam Rouston, he's tall, he's rangy, and he's a technical striker, and he's had strong momentum recently, 3 straight finishes in a row. Whereas Brycek, he's powerful, but he's inconsistent, and he's also hittable, right? So Rouston is, in my opinion, the more composed and technical fighter, right? Using his length and footwork to control the distance and pick opponents apart. And Brycek, he has power for sure, but his recent performances, they haven't been convincing enough to trust him in a pure striking matchup. Unless Brycek mixes in the wrestling, this will likely stay on the feet, where Rouston has the clear advantage with cleaner striking and better range control, right? So I'm picking Cam Rouston to have the superior footwork and distance management that should carry him to a win. Moving on to a final most confident pick, Brando Perichix. Look, this dude, I think his style should be enough to get a quick finish here. He's so big and powerful and dangerous so early on. I think he overwhelms early and gets a quick finish. He's massive, explosive, and he's a high-pressure finisher. Whereas his opponent, Shamil Gaziev, he's experienced, and he's pretty big himself as well, but he's older and he's coming off of a knockout loss. I think Perichix brings an overwhelming amount of size, aggression, and just that first-round chaos. It's pushing a pace that's hard for opponents to handle. He looks so good when he's closing the distance. He closes it really quickly, and he ends fights early with raw power, right? And Gaziev, like I said, he's a decent-sized heavyweight himself, but at 36 years old, coming off of a knockout loss, there are concerns about his durability and keeping up with Brando's pace, especially in that first round. So if this turns into an early firefight, Pericic's explosiveness and pressure should be too much to handle, so I'm picking him to have that early power and aggression that will lead to a knockout. Moving on to the lock of the week, we got my GOAT, Killian Salkield versus Benil Dariush. Salkield is just young, powerful, sharp boxing, mixes in wrestling really well, and he's able to keep up a high pace. Whereas Dariush, he's a veteran, he's skilled, but he's aging right now, and he has some serious durability concerns. Salkield brings size, speed, and serious knockout power, along with the ability to mix in striking and wrestling. He's a high output fighter who can push the pace and keep working even into the later rounds. Dariush, he's experienced, but he's known and he's shown signs of decline, right? Getting dropped or finished in recent fights with concerns about his chin and cardio. If Salkield lands clean early on, he has real knockout potential. Even if the fight goes into longer stages of the fight, towards the end of the rounds, his Salkield's pace and pressure, it should be able to outwork Dariush. So I'm picking Salkield to use his youth, his athleticism, his power, and the pace. I think it all gives him a clear edge, and he'll likely find a finish early in this fight. Moving on to the underdog of the week, we got Louis Sutherland. Look, I'm picking quite a few underdogs on this card, but I think this one makes the most sense considering he's coming up, Louis Sutherland is coming up against someone who's had 6 straight losses, and he's an underdog. Like, I just think Tuivasa, he has heavy power for sure, but he's slow, he's out of form, and he just has this long losing streak. I can't trust him, especially as a favorite, right? Sutherland, he's big, he's powerful, he's more athletic, and he's still developing. Sutherland, you go back and watch his fights on the regional scenes. He's shown such strong power. He's controlling the center of the octagon. He has damaging leg kicks. Even if his cardio failed him in his last fight, he's still super powerful. It's not like Tuivasa is known for his cardio. This matchup gives him a chance to prove himself against a recognizable name. Tuivasa, he still has knockout power, but he's looked slow. He's out of shape pretty much every fight now. And he's on a rough losing streak. I just can't trust him. It's raising some serious concerns against his current level. So I think in a heavyweight fight, both have power. Sutherland looks like the more fresher, more motivated fighter. So I'm picking Louis Sutherland. I think he just has better shape, better power, and the momentum gives him the edge here. When you're comparing momentum, right? So moving on to the breakdowns, the parlay breakdowns. Starting off with the safety lock, -135 for the safety lock. Salkield and Mikhailov. I think these two are the more safer combos on the whole card. Salkield has the youth and power and pace. It's giving him an edge over the declining Dariush, who gets hit so easily, while Mikhailov looks like the more complete and dangerous fighter everywhere against Garimbo. So both have clear paths and are trending upward in their career. I think it's the safest combo on the board. Moving on to the ultimate lock, Salkield and Ralston, +100 Ralston. He should control the range with his length and has clean, accurate striking. Salkield brings finishing upside with power and has the wrestling mix. Both have technique and finishing ability. It's a strong balance parlay at even money. Now, moving on to the affordable juice section, Brando Perishix and Carlos Prates at +220. Look, this is all about explosiveness here. Brando brings early chaos and knockout power, while Prates, he has elite striking with real finishing ability from range. Both can end their fights. Super solid value for guys I'm truly confident in. And look, I was going to talk more about why I'm so confident in Prates because I have even a lot more to talk about, more things I picked up on while watching tape. But honestly, this might sound stupid, but I picked up on some things while watching tape no one has been talking about, right? So I'm kind of afraid, right? If I start talking about what I saw on tape, it might become so talked about that it will somehow find its way to JDM and his team, and they'll use what I found. So I'm kind of afraid to talk about what I saw watching on tape because I don't want JDM to beat Prates considering I picked Prates. But look, that sounds silly because I'm sure JDM and his team have watched tremendous amount of tape on Prates, but I'm still not going to talk about it, right? But in summary, JDM, he needs to fight in a way where he can truly find success on Prates, but I don't think he will fight that way, which is why I feel like Prates will win this fight, which means Prates can take advantage of the way JDM fights. That's all I want to say for now, right? But after the fight, I'll be more open about what I saw on tape, what I'm talking about, and maybe JDM and his team, they're already picked up on it, so we'll see what happens during the fight, right? And it's just something that no one's been talking about, right? And the fight itself, there's so many things that, like mental things that come along with it. Like JDM was already champion and Prates is still hungry to fight for the title. And also a fun fact that I picked up on. Did you guys know for the last 7 years, every time a welterweight champion lost his belt, he always ends up losing their next fight? That's something interesting I picked up on, but obviously it's not a super convincing argument as to why Prates should win, but JDM just lost his belt. Statistically speaking, he should lose his next fight. But also, just clear as daylight things as well. Kind of just JDM was getting sniped by Kevin Holland, hit multiple times by Bilal. These are clear things that we can see, right? And I just don't think that pressure forward boxing style is what it takes to beat the Muay Thai game of Carlos Prates. So that's all I'll say for now. So moving on to the four most confident picks. Salkield, Mikhailov, Ralston, and Brando +375. Four most confident picks. Salkield with his youth, power, and pace. Mikhailov, he's well-rounded. He's sharp everywhere. Ralston, he's got the range and technique. Brando, an explosive finisher. Each has a stylistic edge, and this is your main confidence parlay. Moving on to the fun duo parlay. Thickness. I know a lot of y'all were so mad that I didn't know how to pronounce his name. Thickness and Ben Jostin. if that's even how you say Johnson's name, Johnson. Plus 190, fun duo. It's more of a value play. It's for fun. Both fighters bring activity and upside in competitive matchups. They're not locks by any means, but they have the tools to win and give you nice plus money on your return, right? So that's the fun duo parlay. Moving on to the Underdog CIty sprinkle. Sutherland and Tim Elliott plus 710. I picked Tim Elliott last time as a massive underdog. He came through. I think he will come through again. It's high risk. It's high reward. Sutherland has power and he has better form than Tuivasa in my opinion currently, right? And Elliott's experience and chaos, it can flip this fight into his favor. Just one mistake from Tim Elliott or one mistake from Steve Erceg, Tim Elliott is going to take advantage of that, right? So it's not safe by any means. It's real upside potential, but it has big payout. It's worth a sprinkle in my opinion. So that does conclude my best bets for this weekend's UFC Perth. Hope you guys found this helpful. Till next time, peace.